Hey, this is Kirk Hilliard.
It's Rusty Byrd. It's the Kirk and Byrd Show with part 2 of the Coach Prime move from Jackson State University to the University of Colorado. You got Lee Martin with the news, head of the athletics in there, DeRocke Croom, the athletic director at Bethel High School, and my partner, Kirk Hilliard. Again, Dwight Vick, he's got this superstar because, he played at Tech. He's got a great podcast. People don't know, but when people say, they come up to Mike Vick, they say, "Oh, ain't you Dwight Vick's cousin?" That's the real ball in the family. All right. Hey, so let's go ahead on. We want to talk now about Coach Prime's move to Colorado. The first thing I want to get you guys' opinion on about this was this a good move for him? Was it a good time to make that move? And is Colorado the place that he can get, have some success after joining a program that has not won a lot of games? In fact, this past year they were 1-11. And is this a good fit? And it will also go into his pay raise and the facilities. But we'll start out with you, DeRocke. What are your thoughts on Coach Prime now going to Colorado?
Everything you said was yes, and yes. It was a good move for him. It was the right time. And it will, I say this, winning does a lot. And so if he wins at Colorado, you won't hear about the negative stuff. You won't hear about how racial it is and how not diverse it is, because winning solves a lot. He won't hear any of that unless he starts losing. If Deion goes there and win, you won't hear anything. But as soon as he has a 5-5 season, a 5-13 season, and only win 3 games, then that's when you'll start hearing everything. But in terms of him making the right move, I think it was the right move for him. I think he can change the culture there. I think he will change the culture and bringing back the winning ways. But there's a lot of, Kurt was saying beforehand in terms of, the percentage of African-Americans on that campus, around that campus and around that, state. Y'all were talking about the McCarthy 30 for 30. So there's deep-seated, I guess, hatred. And I don't know if you can call it that, but again, winning changes a lot of people's minds and represses a lot of stereotypes when you win.
Yep. Winning fixes a lot of problems. That's a good point, DeRocke.
Lee, what are your thoughts?
I agree with some of the things Rock said. It was definitely the right time. I mean, it's a Power 5, tough conference. I mean, there's some good football teams in that conference, so he's going to have to be true to the task. Mm-hmm. But I think with Prime, I believe in Prime's message. I believe in what culture he establishes. I think, the diversity is going to be what it is, but I think the support from Prime and his staff will be crucial. When we talk about that 30 for 30, and I remember there was a Sports Illustrated article that I remember reading years ago, to have a black head coach and assistant coaches, again, I think the culture they established, the support that they put in place for their student athletes will go a long way, maybe to help, the perception in that area. And like Rock said, if they go in and be successful and they win games, that's going to go a long way to helping that.
Yeah, no doubt. Mr. Vick.
When I played college football, being from Hampton and growing up in Hampton, and also growing up some in Newport News and the East End, Stewart Garden, and all of that, you only know what you see, you know what you know. I remember when I was being heavily recruited my junior and senior year, there were some teachers and a few administrators who told me when I started narrow down my list, UVA was the premier school at the time, great university. You know, I grew up a UVA fan, a UVA Notre Dame fan. You know, Sean Moore, Herman Moore, Aaron Mundy, Brian Gerzak. I mean, those guys were, you know, they were like I told DeRocke when he was on my podcast, those guys were Avengers to me. Like DeRocke Croom, Eric Hunter, you know, I played at Aberdeen. I looked up, but at the same time, Rusty and Kirk, I remember there were people that were like, hey, Tech at the time is in Southwest Virginia. And there were people like, you better be careful going on your visit. You're going to see the Klan. And I was like, the Klan? They were like, they don't like us in Blacksburg. You know, people don't go to Virginia Tech from here. And I was like, what? And I was like, I graduated high school at 17. So I was, you know, and these are people that are professionals and teachers and administrators in the high school. But at the same time, some of them had never been up there in years. So there was some truth to what they were saying as far as their experiences, but they were placing their fears and insecurities on me. I went and had a great time. Obviously, you guys know my history there. For those watching that may not know, I had a great career, met my wife there, and I have a great legacy there. Got 2 degrees, but it was a great school for me. There's some programs, however, I learned very quickly at Tech when I was playing in the late 90s and even now in 2022 covering college football, that it's just tough to win at, okay? Rutgers, Wake Forest had that reputation until recently. It's schools like that in the MEAC and the SWAC and the Big East and Conference USA and other schools, even the SEC. People feel like you can't win at Vanderbilt because of
South Carolina.
You know. So with that being said, I'm excited to see what Deion's going to do, but I will say, for me, Virginia Tech was the right fit culturally, academically, and athletically. But some of my friends needed to go to a smaller school like an HBCU because of the support, smaller classrooms. Some coaches need to go to smaller schools because of their inability or abilities to connect with the media and the culture. What people don't realize when you choose a university as a coach and as a player, especially for I'll speak from a Black man's perspective. I'm looking at the women. I'm looking at the barbershops. I'm looking at where we party. I'm looking at, you know, where do y'all go? Is it safe after midnight? Am I going to be racially profiled? I didn't have issues like that at Virginia Tech, but there are people that go to some of these universities from urban areas like in Atlanta or Dade County, Liberty City, and Miami, and go to these schools in the mountains or in certain places like in Penn State, and they encounter that. Some coaches have families, and you have to not only look out for yourself, you have to look out for your children and your spouse. So everything green ain't good. So Colorado, never been. When I was growing up, they were a powerhouse with Eric Bieniemy and their uniforms. They had the black T-shirt hanging out their joint. The
Cordell Stewart.
They did Cordell Stewart. They had the black cleats, and they were swagged out. They ran the option. They were unapologetically good. Them in Miami had a historic battle in the early 90s. But with that being said, that was just on TV. That's only one day on the weekend. When you go to college, you have to live there for several years, especially the coach. So I hope Deion did his research because every place ain't good. Now, on the flip side, Mississippi, where he was at, wasn't doing great either.
Nope.
Not only is one of the poorest states, they didn't have running water. They had terrible facilities, and they weren't being supported by their governing body. Not the schools, but the administration that oversaw the state. So with that being said, there's pros and cons everywhere. I think Deion's going to do well because Deion is going to push his agenda, his vision, and he knows how to strategically get people in place. But I will say this, that is a tough school to win at. It has been a long time since they've been winning. And college football is ever evolving. My alma mater is going through it now. Now, they got the right guy now, but it takes a while for some programs. Look at Nebraska. They were the standard. I played against them. 2-time defending national champions in the Orange Bowl. They were the standard. It is tough to get guys now to go to Nebraska, okay? And mentioning Colorado, Nebraska and Colorado were two of those examples of winning. So I think Deion will do well because I think he's proven he can. But I will say on this panel, it's going to be a challenge. This is Power Five. Power Five is a dirty game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You better recruit. You better know how to, look, right now as we speak, guys are decommitting. They have been committed for 6 months and decommitting on signing day to a school that just offered them.
Yep.
This is big business, brother.
They're saying the UNC quarterback is being offered maybe $5 million to transfer out of there, man.
Yeah. And Deion's got to compete with that. Colorado, nice school. I know Kirk knows about them. I don't know about anything except what I've seen and what I've known. So I cannot, respectfully for your show, speak on the culture and the city around the university. But I do know from a football standpoint, that's a tough place to win at. I mean, you're going to have to work hard to win games there.
One of the things, my thought on it is, I think DeRocke, you made a great point, and Lee too. Like, if you're winning, it's all good. It's all good. What I want to see and make sure is that if he doesn't start by winning, will he get that time? I think they're going to give him time, but it's not. You're not going to the SWAC and bringing a bunch of major college D1 players with you, and a coaching staff that, although they were underpaid, was very experienced. And so you could probably make that that jump and have some success a little earlier at a Jackson State. When you go to a program like Colorado that's been down for years and plays in the Power 5 conference, you're going to take some lumps. I'm not saying he can't start, but I hope that the Colorado fans that are all cheering for him now, and the administration gives him the support, because I'm going to tell you, Utah is going to be like, wait a minute, we're the champs of this league right now. It's going to be, I know USC and UCLA are leaving, but Washington, Oregon, they got ballers too, and they've been in this game. And you're going up against Nike Money and Oregon. And the other thing I would say is, within that same conference, Herm Edwards tried this at Arizona State. And things were cool in the beginning, but when people started catching up or the infrastructure wasn't as strong, he had to go. I'm hoping it all works out. And I think that I just want people to understand it's not going to be quite as easy. And we all may need to better our expectations and definitions of what success will be for him are kind of tempered. But that's my thought. I think he will do well. I hope he has the time. And I think because what he can do is he understands NIL, he understands social media, and he's bringing in some great coaches. And I think any questions about it not percentages of African-American students, this could be the thing that makes a change there. I will tell you this. People don't understand. Sometimes I know kids that apply to UNC just because of the basketball program.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Because of football.
There are going to be kids that I know there are kids that went to Virginia Tech because of the football program, and they saw Michael Vick and a Dwight Vick, and they saw people of color, because they're like, so they're watching Bimbo Coles, they're going, oh, I'm not even playing ball. So let's see.
Yeah, Beamer did a great job of capturing the 90s and 2000s. He captured the Tidewater area. He captured a region in Virginia where those kids grew up seeing Brian Randall, Cam Chancellor, D'Angelo Hall, Michael Vick, and Tyrod. So you had, when I went there, I was the first player in 94 to sign with Tech. The last one was 1985 from Hampton High, Leslie Bailey. It was a drought because James Wilson felt some kind of way. James Wilson was like, yo, you couldn't get in because of a math deal. Now, I'll say this. One thing we didn't mention, Rusty, I'll just add about the whole thing. Deion better learn very quickly in the Power 5. He better compete like it's the Hunger Games. And what I mean is he has to find allies. Coach Beamer, I'm speaking on what I know. Coach Beamer was well respected. He has guys like, at the time, Mac Brown and other people in the Big East and the ACC who he golfed with and he vacationed with that had his back. When I talk about business, I'm not going to get into this because this is a deep subject and we are in a time constraint, but I'll just say It ain't just about his staff. You better have guys in that conference who like you, respect you, who may say, hey, keep in mind, this is what this kid's saying on this visit, you know, NCAA violations, because there's a lot of dry stitching going on. And there's resentment too. There was resentment towards him in the SWAC because who he is. There's going to be resentment in this new conference, well, where he's at in Colorado. So he needs to make sure, and Deion seems like a likable, I love him, but I don't know him. I just love his persona. But in coaching and even with the ADs, and DeRocke and Lee, you can speak on this. I'm up in Northern Virginia, but my son's school AD is well-connected, can get gym space, and has lunch with other ADs, and there's a friendship, even though they went their schools to beat each other. Same thing in coaching. Deion can't go in there with, walking in like that David Chappelle skit with the mink on talking about he Buck Nasty, I'm the hater of the year. You gotta go in and shake some hands and talk with some people, man, because them other Power 5 coaches are gonna feel some kind of way at the media day when all the cameras are around Deion and they've been coaching for 16 years and they got a program on the rise. That's one thing I know, and seeing what Virginia Tech did when they built their program. Beamer was very well liked and well respected, so and I know DeRocke and Lee won't get into this because of confidentiality and respect to their businesses, but there are certain coaches that won't get hired because of what they bring to the table in the PD and in the Eastern region. And they're good minds, but they can't get hired because of their practices or their shady ways, or they're not a people person, okay? That's the stuff that people don't think about in these group chats and on this show.
Like 60, 70%, 60%. I don't have the stats on that, but you got to find a way to put in there the fact that, the university, it's crazy, but if you take the average, the national average, which is skewed against minorities, if you go to Colorado, it is crazy, man. Crazy. Let's say
Kirk, all of that is very true, but I'd say this. The same can be said about going to Ole Miss. Ole Miss had a rebel flag that they waved, so somebody can negatively recruit against everybody. I can guarantee you somebody can find a way to negatively recruit against HBCUs.
Oh yeah,
each other. Yeah. So there's tons of that out there. But what I would say this, going back to what DeRocke said, winning cures a lot, bro. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't hear about all the kids that do get in trouble at Alabama, Florida, look, Florida's national championship squad that had that run with Tebow, they had a mass murderer. They had some people that
were Pouncey brothers. The Pouncey brothers.
Aaron Hernandez.
But look, we could do this a whole episode of this. Let's move on a little bit. Let's talk about this. Deion went from making a salary of $300,000 a year, but he gave half of that back to the university. Now he's going to make over $5 million per season. And some people, that's an issue for some people. But if you keep it real, like that is a natural. Let me say that salary is not uncommon at the Power 5 level.
No.
And the money that Deion is making, $5 million, that's like he doesn't need that. But even Deion, I was listening to him on a podcast last night. He doesn't need it. For those that don't know, Deion his net worth is estimated to be at about $45 million.
And that's just what they think it is. It could be a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, but your thoughts on the pay increase? Is it warranted? Should he? Just any thoughts on that?
Go ahead, DeRocke.
I think so. I think that within the realm, just like the Power 5, they had to come with some money. It's not top of the line money because he hasn't won anything, but they had to get him away from Jackson State. I think they, looked at whatever they did. I'm sure they did their research in reference to, just like we said before, if he was on that podcast and he was saying he wanted to, he would love to have a Power 5 job, he's already talked to some ADs and he's already talked to some schools. So they kind of had a figure in mind of what they wanted to give him. I think that it's a 5-year deal, if I'm correct, right?
Yep.
So minus him getting some, infractions or his contract, or even him getting fired, that money is guaranteed. If he doesn't have any indiscretions, within his contract, money's guaranteed. So that's not a lot of money when it comes to a Power 5 school, but no. It's right in the realm. What they haven't talked about, I would love to see the salaries of the assistant coaches. Quick fact.
There you go.
UVA job was open. We all know the guy from Penn State was going to get that job. Actually had the job. He didn't take that job because they wouldn't pony up the money for assistant coaches. He very well knows that, and anyone knows that if you have a head coach, you have to pay your assistants in order to get good assistants so you can win. Nobody's going to leave a good job to go to a school where they know they're just going to be mediocre. So they didn't pony up the money. He didn't take the head job. There's going to be another job open for him later on down the line. But in terms of Deion and his coaching salaries, his assistant coaching salaries, I would love to see that money, because that's going to be the mark of if he wins or loses. Deion is only, as we say, the head coach. Those other guys, those coordinators and those position coaches and that strength coach is the lifeblood of his program.
Bingo. That's right.
And they're all public employees, so that'll all come out. And by the way, there are strength coaches making $1 million now. That's how crazy it is.
Alabama strength coach probably makes $1.7 and $2 million a year. I will say this: Georgia's strength coach is going to make that much. All those top 4 teams that's in the college playoffs, their strength coaches is going to get a big boost. TCU, I'm not sure about him, but Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia,
Clemson,
Alabama, Clemson. Those guys are making 1.5 to almost $2 million a year.
And we got a whole other episode. And the reason they can afford to do that is because they're not paying the players. But that's another story.
NIL. So,
NIL, not the school paying them.
No.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Lee, any thoughts?
He's worth the money. Through the ticket sales and television revenue that's already starting to be put in place. He's worth that. And it's nice to have $1 million as opposed to the $300,000 you were getting. That's good money. And Deion's smart enough to know that his assistants are going to get a bump. There's no question that their lifestyle is going to change, and he's going to take care of them. He knows how important they are. But he's already worth it.
Yep.
Win or lose, right now he's already bringing money into the university.
Dwight, your thoughts, and then I just want to throw out a couple of numbers.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time because I think Lee and Rock got it right, with the money. I don't disagree with that. I will say my only concern with the revenue, Kirk hit it on the head about the potential economically. But just to give a different perspective, my concern really has never been about Deion. I think because of my affiliation with covering college football and basketball from a media sense, is I've seen the dark side of it. And, I don't trust some of these guys. And I saw what happened to Jordan living up here in the D.C. area. I've been living in Northern Virginia now since 2001 after I played for the Nighthawks and got cut from the Baltimore Ravens. And I saw how Jordan was used. And, the DMV, especially DC sports, have been hit or miss, mainly a miss. The Nats did win the World Series, and the Washington football team is not what it was in the 80s and 90s. They've been in disarray. They're having a good year this year, but overall, the Wizards have been rebuilding since I had hair. And the reality is that they use Jordan because of what we're talking about Deion is going to do for Colorado. I remember being in a Wizards game when they hung a banner up for their attendance record. Okay, that was because of Jordan. if I ever come to DeRocke school and I see him hang up an attendance record, I'm gonna say, what have y'all done with DeRocke? And y'all need to find him, okay? Because that's not what we do. But all jokes aside, my only concern is I don't know Colorado except for what I grew up watching, and that's a long time ago. And I just wonder if they needed, because Maryland left the ACC because they were in the red. And they were losing money, a lot of money. And Under Armour and their relationship saved them. But the move to the Big Ten has not really been fruitful for them when it comes to football. Basketball, they seem to be hitting it. They got a great recruiting class coming in. They're hitting the DMV again. Turgeon didn't really do that. But from a revenue thing, my only concern is, Rusty, is I don't know their AD. Like, when you don't know ADs, you don't know their previous regime. And when you're not familiar with it, you're almost like, okay, why did Deion choose them, and why were they so desperate to get Deion? And I just wonder if we're not looking at a circus right now. Like, I just wonder, like, are they using Deion? Because the ego is a very powerful thing. Deion loves, like Jay-Z, to be loved. He loves to be loved. He loves him some me. And sometimes you can be blinded. But now I'm happy, and I'm rooting for him. I'll go on record on you and Kirk's show. I am rooting for him for many reasons. But that's my only concern, is that, are they playing reindeer games right now? Okay, is this going to be like, get you in here and sell some tickets, but when it's time to really ante up this thing with the resources you need, because the other guys, Dabo, Saban, the other guys get that. They get the green light. They get the money. They get what they need. So that's
when Deion got the job. What were your first thoughts before you heard anybody else, media, other sports opinions? Like, what did you do when you got on the phone with your boy when you heard about Deion getting that job? Honest thoughts that you can say. Start with you, DeRocke, because you played. You were a star at HBCU. I heard a lot of, and first thing I did was I called my boy that played at Virginia State. But what were your thoughts as an alum of HBCU when he took that job?
First, I was happy for him, and my thought was, you go from an HBCU to a Power 5 off the rip. And then I'm like, wow, Colorado.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, Colorado.
Right.
And so that was it. And then it's like, okay, let me wait for, the media, to come out and just sit back on it. But I do want to make a point what Kurt said earlier when it comes to how those players will be treated. And, some of the stereotypes and some of the profiling. The day and age of social media, you saw what Deion did at Jackson. He put everything on blast. So if these players are getting treated, he's going to put that out there on social media. He's going to have he's going to have a camera crew follow him around. He's going Barstool. He's not going to negate that money that he has with Barstool. So there's going to be a documentary with Deion and his progression at Colorado. So all that is be played out on social media and TV. So what's going to happen, what I think is going to happen is, if he starts putting out this, narrative of my players, these black players are being ostracized, these black players are being profiled, one, that community is going to see that because it's going to be on TV. The administration is going to see that, and the world is going to see that because everybody's going to tune in because Deion is at Colorado. And wow, he's at Colorado. So, on the flip side of that, he's going to have to make sure his players stay in line. And just like you said, they're college kids, they're going to get in trouble. But he's also going to put that racial profiling or that, that stereotype or whatever that is being done in Colorado. That's going to be on blast too. So Colorado, that city around there, Boulder, is going to have to be on notice as well. But go back to the initial point. I was like, wow, Deion went to Colorado.
Lee, what were your thoughts?
I wasn't surprised. I mean, I knew something was coming. You know, I wasn't surprised that he had landed at a Power 5 school. But then I did the same thing. I was like, man, when is the last time I even thought about Colorado when it comes to football? I mean, how long has it been? So I was surprised. I didn't know if he jumped at the first kind of big offer that came his way. I'm still down the road thinking he's got an end game at some point planned in this. When does he end up back in Florida? I just don't feel like Colorado. I feel like it's obviously, I think we all think this is a stepping stone for him. But I mean, I think ultimately he wants to be back in Tallahassee. Maybe, I don't know, man. That's just me. But I did the same thing. I mean, I knew something was coming, but then I was like, wow. Yep. Colorado.
Especially after the Auburn job opened up and some other things, you know. Define a successful season for Coach Prime in his first year.
You got to look at his schedule. You got to look at conference games. See, the thing about it is that when my guy Brent Pry took over Virginia Tech, everybody knew, unless they were just overly emotional, there was a rebuild. Because the last guy before him really ruined tons of relationships in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So you knew you had a rebuild. You knew you were behind the likes of ODU and Liberty and JMU. I mean, I don't think that's going to last long, but you knew it was an uphill battle. It was a lot of damage control. Colorado, the great thing for Deion, there are no expectations because I haven't said the word Colorado this much in 20 years. Okay.
Right.
So, like, I have not checked for Colorado. If I saw them on, I toned the channel. I did not watch Colorado. I was not like, hey, Colorado comes on at 3:30. Matter of fact, I don't remember them being televised, okay? So the expectations are good for Deion because there are none. I think right now, if you lose a close game to a ranked team, they're going to say, oh, man, look what he's doing. Like he has the benefit of the doubt right now. He's playing with house money. The other thing with Deion working in his favor is because he's financially stable, at least I assume he is based on the reports and what you guys said his net worth is, and because he was pouring in his own money into Jackson State, he is not like some of these other coaches where if I lose this job, I'm done. I got to, because what the fans watching this show right now may not realize, unless you're in the business like me and Lee and even you guys, Kirk, covering this stuff, is that many of these college and even pro coaches, I've had many friends when they get terminated and they're struggling. Yeah. They're trying to, figure out, hey, man, I had a friend, that got fired from Tech because the staff got fired or there was change, and he was coaching at a small HBCU and doing some side work. Like, it's a business because your salary, like all of us, dictate your livelihood and your living arrangement. So Deion's not in that situation where it's do or die for him. So I think, if he can even go 6-6 and be in contention for a bowl, that's huge. I mean, does anybody have in front of them what Colorado's record was? Kurt, do you have that?
Yeah. So
last year,
they were 1-11. Listen to this: in 17 years, they've had one winning season, and that was 2016. They were 10-4.
There you go.
They have had a 2-win season, 3-win season, 3-1 season, 1-win season, 2-win season, 4-win season. If he wins, there you go. If he wins 5 games, to me, that's a success. But the next year, they're going to be looking for 8.
That's my point. So, like, just to wrap up my segment, he's great. He's in a great situation. And maybe, because I follow Auburn, I follow SEC, Big Ten, ACC. You can win a national championship in the SEC following year and win 8 games. They talking about you got to go.
Yep.
SEC is there. You cannot take a step back in SEC. I saw some fools one day tweeting about it's time for Saban to step down. Okay.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, because they missed the recruiting class. Number one recruiting.
But they missed the playoff. Like, Look, man, again, Rock played at the Crab before I did, man. You know, when I remember my senior year, we went 8-2, and I was walking around the hallway with a paper bag on my head. They called us clowns, okay? We went 8-2. You know, so expectations are tough when you are expected to win. You know, that kind of numbers. And I figure what Kurt said. So 3-5 wins, you play a couple of powerhouses tough, and you have, and you know, the thing about it is more of that game's going to be televised and covered now. So even if he gets game day to come, you know, that's a big win because Colorado has been irrelevant. So yeah. So yeah. Anyway,
he'll get game.
So I want to transition out of specifically. I think we've covered Colorado, we've covered Jackson State, we've covered Prime. Any final thoughts? Because I just want to talk a little bit about HBCU sports, some of the challenges, but also some of the great things that come from attending them. Are there any final thoughts on Deion specifically? Yeah. No, I think we've covered it, and I appreciate.
Rusty, I was going to do a quick poll, and I won't give you my final thoughts and give you 4. Let's go around. Make a prediction. How long is he going to stay? Go ahead, Dwight.
Wow. I say 3 to 4 years. I think Deion is like Larry Brown. I think once he gets it going, he's going to find something else. I mean, Deion's the kind of guy that I wouldn't be surprised to see him coaching an NBA team. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but Deion, he is a competitor, and you're never satisfied. So I'm saying 3 to 4 years. 3 low end, 4 the over.
All right, Rock.
I would say the same. I would say 3, maybe 4. I don't see him coaching in the NFL because of the grown men, and I think, you know, when you talk about his faith, he always talks about how he wants to empower young men to be great men. So he said that. I listened to him in his podcast on Barstool Sports, and you know, a lot of stuff that he does, his social media stuff. So I would say about maybe 3 to 4, and looking for another Power 5 job somewhere.
Lee,
I'm all about it. I think he's going to need, like you said, if he wins 5 games this year, I think that's a big step in the right direction. And then you got to look at maybe 8 wins your second year, and then maybe he makes the big splash his 3rd year, maybe 4th year, you know, and then maybe something opens up, you know, that he has his eye on. So I'm right there with these guys, maybe 3 to 4 years.
Right. All right. Rusty?
I agree as well, 3 to 4 to 5 years. Again, you know, Mel Tucker won 5 games, and that was considered a big success and got him to Michigan State. But I would say I think Deion will make the move, but I think he should make the move because just like, you know, if he comes out here 1 year and 3 years and he wins 9 or 10 games, goes to a nice bowl, wins, even though people may say, oh, you want to be like that, those same people that will cheer for him when he wins 9 or 10 games, let him the very next year win 4. And see his marketability and opportunity. So I think because of the reality of college sports, if he does well, he should take and will take the next step.
One last point, Rusty, about before we go to HBC culture. I'm gonna wrap around to that point I made about he needs to find allies and network on the Power 5 level. I don't want to make it this, but I'm gonna make it this because I think it's important. Race will always play a factor, and I hate that that's the world we live in, right? So that means, with that being said, Deion and his compliance staff will need to make sure all T's are crossed and all I's are dotted, because he will have more scrutiny on him than Coach K did at Duke or Coach Saban had at Bama. He cannot make a mistake because there were people looking for him to make a mistake. He will need to make sure that he is in compliance. The average fan doesn't talk about compliance because they just want to know where they're seating, what time the game starts, where the concession is. Compliance is a big part of college football and basketball, especially with the new NIL. So self-reporting, making sure his staff, like 2 of the biggest things you got to do when you get to a college football job and even a high school job is get your staff including your trainers, your medical staff, and your administration, the people that deal with eligibility and criteria as far as scholarship counts, academics, and eligibility. So Deion, who knows what he's doing, he did it at Jackson State, but at a Power 5 level, there are more eyes on you, especially since you're coming in and you're a Black coach. And unfortunately, shout out to my homegirl, Dorita Radcliffe from Portsmouth, Virginia. She is the only female AD in the SEC. And she talks about going to meetings where no one looks like her. She's at Arkansas, University of Arkansas. Okay, I think she's the assistant AD. The point I'm getting at is she talked on my show about how hard it is. Now, she's strong and resilient. She's good, but it is a tough job. So you can't make a mistake, okay? So I just want to add that. I think that's something people talk about.
And that's a great way to kind of wrap this up. I really appreciate you guys joining us.
Oh, man.
You've just been great. You guys are knowledgeable. You're smart. You're currently in this realm, and just brought a lot to it. Again, I appreciate each of you and what you brought. So again, I just want to thank you, DeRocke Croom, Lee Martin, Dwight Vick, and my co-host Kirk Hilliard.
Hey.
This has been real, and that's what we wanted to do, was to talk about it and keep it real. So
it's been great. And hey, Rusty, I just want to add side note, man. Everybody out there, man, I told you this when I saw you guys this weekend. Man, this is your first time watching this show. They cover everything, especially locally, man. Please subscribe to the Kirk and Byrd Show, man. Subscribe. Number 2, for those watching, because I know this, Rusty and Kirk, y'all post this everywhere. Let me just say this. I have 4 degrees. I'm very blessed. I'm educated. But I'm going to say this. Whether it's HBCU, Tidewater Community College, Nova, Norfolk State, Virginia Tech, or you go to a trade school for 2 years, better yourself. Better yourself. Don't get consumed with HBCU, PW. Go where you feel comfortable. My daughter chose ODU. She's a freshman. It resonated with her. She loves it. It was the best school for her. She used to get mad because I told her I didn't want her to go to Tech. I said, I'm not saying I didn't want you to go. I wanted you to create your own legacy. And sometimes I know we didn't do this on the show. We get consumed with, oh, he goes here. Go where you feel comfortable and you are the best version of yourself. And better yourself, whether it's through education, entrepreneurship, networking, become a better person. I see so many people debating and arguing. I get it. Sometimes it's all in fun. I'm cool with that, but don't lose yourself in this college stuff, man. And the college ain't for everybody, but just find something. I know that wasn't our agenda, Rusty. I just wanted to add that. I deal with so many kids, and in today's world, there's so much pressure. I'm like, hey, man, you know, if you want to go to Central and you get in, go to Central. If you want to go to Thomas Nelson for 2 years and start a T-shirt business, then go do it. Okay, you know what I'm saying? That's all I wanted to say, man. You know, I just wanted to add that, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Mad kicking knowledge right there. Lee Martin, your closing thoughts, and then you, DeRocke.
Lee's got to go ahead, DeRocke. I think Lee's.
I appreciate being on here with the hot. Some of the background stories. What's that?
Go ahead, Lee.
Sorry, Lee.
I enjoyed the backstories from Dwight. Obviously, DeRocke and I know each other pretty well. And I want to echo Dwight, man. Kids get stuck into certain, and it's our job as educators too, to open up doors and give ideas to kids and expose them. I think the public schools are working hard to come up with programs to do that. And as coaches, you know, we have to look at the coaching position as more than just X's and O's. You know, we've got to, and this is nothing new, but, you know, develop these young men and women to become productive adults that respect other people. You know, that like Dwight said, come out, be a better person. Educate yourself, mark your own path. My daughter goes to ODU also, Dwight. So appreciate you guys.
D.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. First of all, I watch your show. Love being on. You know, especially with the guy Lee the Flea. They don't know his nickname, Lee the Flea, back in the day because he was real small.
Yeah,
he could shoot it rusty. You know, playing against you, Kirk at Phoebus. Man, y'all were pretty good back in the back in the day. You didn't win it, but y'all were pretty good. And then my old compadre Dwight. Salute especially to the podcast and in your show that I was on. But final thought is, man, just for the kids and anybody listening, just go to school. If you have a chance, just go to school. You know, just like Dwight said, any school that you can go to, just better yourself. And then, make yourself a marketable person. Again, as a athletic director or director of athletics, we have a duty to ensure that the coaches are actually teaching, because when you're a teacher, you're a coach, and when you're a coach, you're a teacher. And teaching these young men and women who are so, right now, I'm not going to say lost, but so impressionable on social media that you got to grab their attention, because social media and peer pressure on a totally different level is real right now for these kids. They are, just mental health wise as well. So it's great that, you have these things in this platform that you can talk about all these things, man. And I appreciate being on. Wish we could get into some stories, especially Phoebus stories. Who was a better shooter? Kendall Fox? Was Kendall Fox a better shooter than, Tim Kendall Fox?
Beckwith or Logan?
Tim Beckwith or Tim Logan. You know what I'm saying? Both of them, Rusty was.
Kendall Fox was a streaky shooter, probably the best shooter, but the best player, the third best player to come from Phoebus was Tim Logan, 6'5", 6'6" guy.
Monster.
Unbelievable guy. NBA talent. Fox was hot.
And then you talk about Denbigh. Everybody on Denbigh team was below 6'2". Joe Bowling was playing center. Bowling was playing center.
Yeah.
Am I lying, Lee? He was playing center at 6'2".
No, you're not lying. Nickname was the Smurf.
They went to the regional finals, played against J.R. Reed and them.
J.R. Reed. I was at that game. game. J.R. fouled out for 44 points.
Yeah. So I mean, wish we could have gotten into stories like that, but I definitely appreciate, man, for you reaching out. I'm ecstatic being on the show. So that's my thought. Go Crabbers.
Well, thank
Growing Pride.
I think, yeah. And I just want to close with, one of the things that Dwight talked about, education. But one of the things I would say is being able to open your mouth, develop relationships. And that's another thing that education take beyond high school. It just opened doors, because if you can communicate and you can develop relationships and carry yourself well, it will go a long way. I tell people that all the time in my career at the State Department. I tell people, I said, man, I'm not the smartest budget analyst in the world, but I tell you what, I have relationships. I talk to people. I'm not scared to present and do things. And that has gotten me a long way. And I know that each of you here, look, you're on this show because I know you, or we know somebody that can get to you. All right. That don't just happen. Dwight Vick can tell you, the people on his show, he doesn't know all of them. He knows most of them, but he says, that's an interesting person. I got to get to know that person or that person. And so what I would say is, man,
that was that.
Develop those relationships, man. And that's going to be key. All right. Because a lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know, or who knows somebody. So look, thank y'all again. This has been awesome. Kirk, I appreciate you, dog.
Thank you.
This has been Rusty Byrd with my partner, Kirk Hilliard. We are out.